Hello there, internet. My name is Mogwai, and ahead of us lies yet another brilliant day in the arena. As today, I'm going to showcase the deck that I used to climb to Mythic. From Diamond to Mythic rank, I played best of 3, traditional, standard, and I utilized this Dimir Crime mid-range to get there. I already swapped my camera, I just realized. This is a deck called GIX is Italian, and probably the worst deck name out of all that I've come up with so far. Honestly, like I was inspired by somebody on Twitch chat who called Talion the kindly lord Italian, and I just went with this. It's pretty cringe. I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna nail it every time with my names, like if I nail it at all. But fuck it, we roll with it. GIX is Italian. Not like racist or anything, by the way. Yeah. Talion, the kindly lord, is the inspiration for this deck's name and is a component of the deck, as you guys can see. Unfortunately, in today's video, we don't really get to showcase this card because the matchups which we ended up running into were actually very similar and did not favor the likes of Talion. But I will be talking about Talion a bit. But this is really a GIX deck. That's why he's in the thumbnail. He definitely puts in the work in today's video, and he's earned his place, even if he is a more meta established card. I still wanted to share the deck that I used to climb from Diamond to Mythic. I had a very strong win rate with this deck, and ultimately the reasoning for that is this card right here. GIX, the Yawgmoth Praetor, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that like anything but right, is a 3-mana 3/3 legendary creature that says whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, that's just factoring like commander or some stuff. Just basically whenever a creature deals damage to the opponent. We're talking about 1v1 magic here, okay? Let's not overcomplicate things. Its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. That is what GIX ultimately is. He is an early game card draw engine. And in order to enable the card draw, in order to get card advantage over the opponent by essentially drawing for just 1 life, is to develop early game units and have these units be harder for the opponent to block. How do we do that? Well, seems pretty obvious. We bring in cheap flyers. We have Fairy Dream Thief, we have Duelist of the Mind, and we have Deep Cavern Bat. Each and every single one of these as a full set. We have 4 copies of each. That gives us a total of 12 early game flyers to make it so that when we play GIX on turn 3, before the combat, we have at least 1 flyer in there on the board, ready to attack and allow us to draw cards. Naturally, depending on the matchup, if we expect like a more reactive deck and the opponent is like saving up mana on turn 3 to counter your GIX or to kill it, you have to, use your head a little bit and trying to find a situation where you can develop GIX or force them to tap out so you can develop GIX and really benefit from your cheap attackers. Because ultimately with these flyers, we're able to get combat damage in, but most often than not, we're going to be barely scraping at the opponent, right? Like we're pinging them for 1 damage. It's only when we play the likes of GIX that the pressure from the flyers becomes very real, because all of a sudden you are just drawing like crazy, and you're just going to have so many cards over your opponent that they're just going to eventually succumb to your superior value, especially considering we have more than enough ways to deal with opposing threats for very little mana, as we're playing black. And by playing black, we get to play 2 mana destroy creature cards. We get to play Bitter Triumph, go for the throat, shoot the sheriff. All of these allows us to remove most threats, and including planeswalkers with Bitter Triumph. And then we also get to run counter spells. 3 Steps Ahead is a phenomenal card and definitely really fits in this deck, as we can protect our early board development with some counter spells in the back. And the combination of that single target removal with the counter spells is what makes a Dimir mid-range so great. It's just a really good combination of resources. Counter spells also trigger crimes, by the way, because this is actually a crime mid-range deck. And Duelist of the Mind is one of the main, or one of the earliest synergistic components of this, right? Whenever you commit a crime, you may draw a card, and if you do discard a card, this ability triggers only once per turn. Duelist of the Mind's power is equal to the number of cards you draw on this turn. So during your turn, as you draw a card, he will be a 1/3, but if you get to trigger a crime, you can get him up to 2/3. If you have other ways to draw cards, then you can even pump him up further. But Duelist of the Mind is there because he gives us an early flyer with a really good stat line that can also be defensive as well. The vigilance is very neat because it makes the attack pretty free, and my game is like crashing. I'll be right back. And we're back. It's been like 4 minutes. So I have to gather my train of thought again. But yeah, the game was down for 4 minutes, in the game. The server just went down, and I looked at the status, all systems operational, bullshit. The game was actually not working for 4 whole minutes. But better for this to happen during the deck tech than in the middle of a recording session, right, for the game. So yeah. So as I was saying, Duels of the Mind allows us to correct our hand. Good stat line, can enable GIX with attacks. With the Flying and Vigilance can allow us to essentially remain back as a blocker in certain situations as well. And the ability allows us to fix our hand. He's not giving us card advantage because every time we draw with his ability, we discard a card, but we are able to improve the overall quality of our hand, which is really, really nice. He's doing a lot for this deck in that sense. As Deep Cavern Bat triggers crimes. So Deep Cavern Bat will trigger Duelist of the Mind, in case you're wondering, and allows us to pick off the opponent's hand. This card is a very important component of the meta for a reason, as it allows for some very key disruption that, is definitely very interactive. If you get rid of the bat, you get the card back, but sometimes the situation leads to a point in which you take away a specific card and they just do not have an immediate way to deal with it, and you've denied one of their key plays. So very useful card that is just so fitting here, because at the end of the day, it's also a flying with lifelink that will trigger GIX, and because of the lifelink, will essentially allow you to draw for free, which is awesome. We got the Graveyard Trespasser. I like main decking Graveyard Hate within this deck, and what's important about the Graveyard Trespasser is that when they enter the board or attack, they trigger a crime as well, which procs the likes of Karvek and Duelist of the Mind. Graveyard Trespasser attacking alongside Duelist of the Mind can allow you to boost Duelist of the Mind's attack on a combat as well, which is really important. We're playing Shield of the Apocalypse as a close to staple 4-drop for black decks in general. That also just really works naturally very well with what we're doing, because we have a lot of ways to draw cards, which can allow us to heal up and give us a really strong edge against mono red decks, for example. We have a one-off of Urtai Resurrected. I really like this card as a Dimir option. It's just so neat. We can actually just play this for flash and destroy a creature or planeswalker, or counter a spell, which is amazing. Of course, we draw our opponent a card, which balances this card out, because otherwise this card would be insanely broken. But still, a lot of times the tempo is just everything, and this card I really, really like, at the very least as a one-off, maybe even as a two-off, you can argue. But I did prioritize Talion, the Kindly Lord, instead. For mid-range and aggressive matchups, this card can come in and really punish the opponent. I like this card especially in the Golgari mid-range matchup, because they are going to require any sort of black-based matchup. They're going to spend 2 mana to kill Talion, so you select the number 2, and it says whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, the player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So this card can be a draw engine in the mid-range game, and I really, really like it for that. But you can also make the argument for dropping it down to 1 and going up to 2 Urtai Resurrected. It's a matter of preference, really, and I think that's also a potential option to go for. As we're playing a black deck, we play a one-off of Aclazotz. That's going to happen a lot of times, especially in decks mid-range shells like these. It just doesn't hurt to add a one-off of Aclazotz. Can really help us out, and it's another flyer for GIX. So fantastic. We got, when it comes to our lands, we have Field of Ruin incorporated here. The rest is a bunch of dual-colored lands, with the Undercity Sewers as our tap land of choice to surveil through our deck. As then we have some pretty standard options right there. We have a total of 21 black sources and 17 blue sources, which is just enough to get our Duelist of the Mind being played onto relatively consistently. As that, and we have a one-off of an island, because we are playing a full set of Field of Ruin, and sometimes we do need to fish for an island instead of for a swamp. So having that flexibility is really nice. Having that said, let's talk about the sideboard, because this is for game 1, right? But then with the sideboard, we have a full set of Cut Down. We have a couple of copies of Duress, a couple of copies of Negate, 1 copy of Insatiable Avarice, 3 copies of Path of Peril, and 3 copies of Preacher of the Schism. So, Cut Down, pretty self-explanatory. Aggro, fast-paced decks with key 1-drops and 2-drops. Cut Down can allow us to deal with those easier. Duress and Negate are there for more control-based matchups that rely more on non-creature spells, board wipes, etc. We want to be able to interact with that better, so incorporating Negates to support the 3 steps ahead already in the main deck, can really enhance our matchup there. Insatiable Avarice in general, I really like for slower matchups. This card can be used for us to draw 3 cards, or it can be used as a finisher alongside Shieldred in these kind of like slower matchups in which we can play this and essentially deal 9 damage to the opponent directly because of Shieldred, you know, making them lose 6 life by drawing 3 cards, and then the card also dealing 3 life to them because we target them, which is also a crime, in case you're wondering. Path of Peril is there for spread out matchups, Boros Convoke, any sort of like Swarm game, even like Mono Red again. Being able to destroy all creatures with a mana value 2 or less for just 3 mana is really neat, but as you can see, as you can tell, it does kind of like butt heads with our Duelist of the Mind and Deep Cavern Bat plays. So when we incorporate cards like Path of Peril into the main deck, when we're facing an aggressive deck like Mono Red, we do want to low down, we want to like trim down the 2-drops that we're playing so that Path of Peril doesn't hit us as hard and focus more on our 2-mana plays being focused on removal, right? And then Preacher of the Schism is overall a better 3-drop than Graveyard Trespasser. I like having Graveyard Trespasser in the main deck because, again, if we run into a graveyard focused deck, we're able to tackle that from the get-go, and because of the crime synergy the card has as well, because it's triggering a crime upon entry and every time it attacks, and that's actually very relevant with the Duelist of the Mind. But overall, Preacher of the Schism comes in a lot of different matchups in which graveyard interaction is not really important. So Preacher of the Schism as a sideboard card comes in for games 2 and potentially 3 a lot. Not only aggro decks, but also control decks. It's a card that is being sideboard in a lot. Even though I like Graveyard Trespasser initially to have that tool against those specific matchups, once we know exactly what we're facing, then Preacher comes in from the bench and puts in the work as one of the best 3-drops in the game. And that's the sideboard right there. I think today's deck tech overall was perhaps a little bit, I mean, it was still pretty long, but for a best of 3-1, I think it was actually good length. That's the deck, you know, we basically, it is centered around GIX, but we have a lot of crime synergy. You know, we got Karvek, and we have a pretty resilient plan. And the game plan overall is just to beat them down little by little with our aggression as a mid-range deck, while also being able to play the reactive game against faster decks. And that's what I love about mid-range, man. You can go, the role you have in a match depends on what you're facing, but it's flexible in that sense. You're either the aggressor or the defender. And I like decks that can, you know, switch up roles in that regard. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering content. Yesterday's video, like I was going to upload a video yesterday, but it was supposed to be a sponsorship, but there was a miscommunication, and I was not able to get the video approved, you know, because it wasn't my fault. I did everything I had to do, but unfortunately, you know, that just didn't go through, and I was left without an upload yesterday. I was a little bit frustrated about it, but it is what it is. Don't you worry. Like, unless crazy stuff like that happens, there's always going to be an upload every single day on this channel, and I will vow to that. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy the games. Have a swell day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, here we go. I am so out of it today. Like, my brain is so fried because of the hungover that I literally just had a best of 3 series and I did not hit record. Like, I didn't even realize until like the end of the match. Okay, let's go again. My God, it was a good best of 3 series too. Though I'm like, when I'm hungover, my brain sometimes just like back, you know. I don't know if like backfires. It just doesn't work 100%, man. Because I literally lost the first game because of a misplay. Because I attacked with everything. Because I just hit the spacebar really fast. And I had to come back, but it was pretty epic, man. And I just spent like, God, that's annoying. Okay, but now I do know I'm fucking recording. Jesus. Okay, so we have a double Undercity Sewers. We're going second. I'm gonna keep this hand, even though it seems like it's very, very it's risky. Double Surveil land and going second allows me to really fish for that land. There we go. We find that swamp. Now the ideal scenario is to draw into that third land that's not tapped, so we can develop GIX. We see that they play some strong colors here, like, okay, so the temporary lockdown. We could force them to play that. Okay, so they're Bant. They're probably like Angels too. This is gonna be removed, but right now playing the Lightning Helix is easier said than done. They have like No lands to play the temporary lockdown. What do I take away here? The Lightning Helix. Because it one-shots GIX. Unfortunately, we do not find... They need another source of white, though, to go for the temporary lockdown, but that's that is concerning. We're going to go with the Fairy Dream Thief. We're going to surveil. We're going to get rid of anything that's not a land. We need to continue to curve out with our lands. So we're going to surveil that bat away, and we're going to go for another Undercity Sewers. We're going to get rid of that, too. Good surveils here. They need another source of white to be able to play that temporary lockdown. Otherwise, they really don't have much going on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play GIX. This is the engine, ladies and gentlemen. This is the draw engine of this deck. I like hitting the spacebar a lot, but I got to be careful. And they play the Leyline Binding. I probably should have hit the Leyline Binding and not the Helix, to be honest. I don't feel like I need that at this point. As long as we hit 4 mana, we're decent. There's a source of red mana, which allows them to play the Archangel of Wrath, but for some reason they do not kick it. For some strange reason, they just do not kick it. And I think applying pressure is the best way to go about this, because we could play Shieldred, but I really want to get rid of this. I'm going to pay 3 life to get rid of this Angel, and then I'm going to play the Graveyard Trespasser. I'm going to trespass into the graveyard. I'm going to eat the Angel's corpse, because that's what we do. And then I'm going to ping them face. They're starving for like a white source of mana. Once they get that, though, they'll get the Lightning Helix back. But dealing with Graveyard Trespasser is not easy. They have a very greedy deck, and it's really showing here. I'm going to go ahead and full swing first. I'm not going to, eat anything from my graveyard. But I am going to drop Shieldred. The Apocalypse! And I'm going to put them on a timer, essentially. Like, because they need very specific sources of, like, their deck is very greedy. Their deck has so many different color sources, and we're just punishing that with tempo. It's like, okay, you need to not only curve out, but you need the exact color to be able to play the exact cards. Like, you're playing stuff with, like, that requires 2 sources of blue mana. And that's the price to pay, baby. Game 1! Victory, okay. Now, oh, sorry. I misclicked. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm going to move over here. We got a matchup where Duress is definitely going to be doing things. I also like the idea of Preacher of the Schism over Graveyard Trespasser, personally. Talion is not particularly good in these kind of like greedy matchups where they're not chaining that many spells, so I'm going to be dropping that. And I think I do want to drop a couple of sources of removal, like here and here, for some negates, actually. Insatiable Avarice is also the kind of card that I really like here. Perhaps I'm going to drop 1 negate. I'm going to put 1 Insatiable Avarice just because we're going second now. So counterspells are just overall less efficient. So I'm going to go with this. Insatiable Avarice can allow us to just burn them with Shieldred or refill ourselves. We don't want to alter the deck too much. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. But we do want to incorporate those Duresses. Very greedy deck, though. Like, hitting at like at least 4 colors, right? They got white, red, black, and green. So whenever you go above 3 colors, man, things get really wacky. We got Fairy Dream Thief into GIX. All you need to know. We're going to go with the Dark Lake Shores. Going to play the Fairy Dream Thief. Surveil away anything that's a land because we have too many of those. We don't surveil that away, though. That's fantastic. 1 white source of mana. Only 1 white source of mana so far. I'm going to swing first. Then I'm going to play the Fairy Dream Thief. I'm gonna keep that there, honestly. I'm gonna drop a song. Black source of mana. I feel like they definitely have an answer for GIX here. And we kind of want to be, if we drop GIX here, they have pretty much all the colors. It's like 5 sources of mana, right? I want to swing. Even though I could play GIX, I feel like they have some sort of interaction. They must have something. And now I'm going to go with the Deep Cavern Bat. I need to have a look into their hand. I need to know what to navigate around because their cards are just so diverse. Okay, so Sunfall can be easy for us to deal with. Leyline Binding. For each... This spell costs 1 less for each basic land type among lands you control. So that costs nothing. Okay, that. The Leyline Bindings are like super cheap. I'm gonna take 1. This costs 1 less for each basic land type among lands you control. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like that just costs nothing, right? Like even though it's not showing in when I look at it, they have the ability to use that to deal with my GIX. Like the moment I develop that, they go for GIX. So I'm gonna continue to attack without giving them that play. I'm going to play an island. I'm going to call that a turn. I'm trying to build up my mana before I actually... Because right now they have 2 different answers for GIX. So playing right into that doesn't really get me anywhere. They have a board wipe as well. Definitely need to be running those negates there, man. Exile all creatures? No. So we're going to counter that. We're not going to get more out of this counterspell, unfortunately, but they gave us the opening for GIX, which is exactly what we wanted. The opening for GIX. We play the Shipwrecked Marsh, we play GIX, and now we swing with these 2, and we get to draw 2 cards, which is huge. That's why we didn't rush him. That's why we didn't rush him. There's another GIX right there. We're going to call that a turn. We don't know if they have another board wipe. We're expecting like single target removal for GIX, but we have another GIX in hand. This is exactly what we didn't rush him into that because I want to see, like, they definitely have a lot of... They're not shy about removal. They're running so many colors that they're taking the best out of each color. There it is. I'm going to let that go through. I'll allow it. Leyline Binding is still a thing, but we can counter that. My turn. Shieldred, we're going to drop you. We're going to play GIX. We're going to go again. Oh baby, we're gonna go again. As they play the Leyline Binding, we counter it. May the value continue. May the value prevail. Boom. Boom. Archangel of Wrath, gonna be hitting that twice. With the lifelink, we got Shieldred the Apocalypse in to go for the throat. We swing. Undercity Sewers to surveil. Get rid of that, which allows us to send to the graveyard and potentially exile it for card draw. And now Shieldred, applying even more pressure. We cannot, like, desist here. Oh boy. Oh boy. They get to discard 2 cards to clear the board. Do they get to discard something like really big to clear my Shieldred? They don't discard. And that hits them for 2. Beautiful. There's a land there. Duelist of the Mind. I want to use this. Draw into a card. Connect with these. They'll drop down to 7. If they cannot deal with this board, it's gotta think. They must have like a lot of board wipes, right? But I'm gonna develop this. Bluff the fact that I have a counter spell. I'm gonna play Duelist of the Mind. Because yes, they could have a board wipe. But I also need to do everything that I can to end this game quickly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's desperate. No board wipe there. You hear me? Booyah! 2-0! Ha ha ha! Punishing the greed! And that actually makes it for 2 back-to-back best of 3 series, but if I had clicked record. All right. 14 minutes in? Okay. Let's go for another one. All right. Gordon. What are you playing, Gordon? Okay. We keep. That is the beauty of Fairy Dream Thief. We need a land more than anything. So whatever it is that is on top of our deck, if it's not a land, we will surveil it. Otherwise, we keep. Even if it's actually it's a Field of Ruin. Shit. Well. Okay. Hi. Another triple land. Yeah, that sucks. Not being able to curve out a Duelist of the Mind here really blows. But this Field of Ruin could really go a long way. I think I want to deal with that though. Get an island there since we are definitely hungry for sources of blue mana. But going for the Field of Ruin and getting rid of a land that gives them 3 different colors is really huge, I think. Like, it is definitely going to help us slow them down. They picked a white source of mana, which is interesting. This Questing Druid will continue to grow after each spell, but we can always remove it later down the line. Connects us there. They have 2... They have a white and black source of mana right now, and then Naya colors here. Okay. I like the Karvek. But for later... This is a situation where I think having something like Preacher of the Schism would be more useful than Graveyard Trespasser. There it is. I could counter that, but not really. Leyline Binding. I'm gonna go Graveyard Trespasser. Develop the Sour Springs. And that way now, when I, like, I can actually really fix my hand here. What is this? Okay. The Case of the Settlement Pact allows them to find an island. The Courier's Briefcase. Yeah, these are really greedy decks here. I kind of want to have the counterspell enabled at this point. There are 5 colors among permanents you control. I'm gonna swing. I'm gonna keep that there. A land that can allow us to play something like Duelist of the Mind with backup. Wait, what are you? You may play additional creatures into the... okay, so that's actually a problem. That's a powerful unit. I'm gonna counter it. I'm gonna block with that. And now I get to attack with Graveyard Trespasser and trigger both of these Duelists of the Mind by developing back-to-back. We have a land there, but I really want to keep this Karvik and this Shieldred, to be honest. So, then each opponent discards a card. Okay. I'm going to be forced to discard a card here. And that's going to be Duelist of the Mind. Okay. Wow. Wow, this combo, I actually don't have removal for that. I have no answer for this. Like, this case of the standard pack actually went through. Okay, let's not give him more information. Gordon definitely got the best of us this game one with a very, like, wacky deck. But I am gonna come back full force here. Couple of duresses. Absolutely. Insatiable Avarice, Preacher of the Schism. Like, I didn't like the Graveyard Trespasser here. Karvik also felt really slow. Talion is also just not what I'm looking for here. We need negates for sure. I don't want to, like, lower down my removal too much. But I am going to drop Karvik. I am also going to drop Aglazotz, to be honest. Like, I don't feel like I need him in this matchup. And one source of removal should be fine. And I'm going to go with this. Just full-on disruption. Leading off with the Darklake Shores, we're going to keep this opening hand. We have Duelist of the Mind into Deep Cavern Bat. Underground River here, Duelist of the Mind. We can play Undercity Sewers next turn. Okay, Duelist of the Mind goes down. We're going to go for a Deep Cavern Bat. Definitely a unit we want to deal with. And now we will surveil. We don't need more lands at this point. We're going to get that out of there. We're going to take Lisa. The Blossoming Tortoise, like, we want to deal with this for sure. If I play you, I tap 2 you, I can do that and that. So I'm gonna swing first. Then I'm going to play Field of Ruin. And I'm going to deal with that. And then I'm going to play Deep Cavern Bet. And I'm going to take away the tortoise. Because they want to mill with the tortoise. Now they don't really have plays. Barring this that they top decked, which is exile. Let's choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard. Okay, so they're going to do that. What name are they selecting? They're going to choose a name, and they're going to get rid of all copies of that card from that name. And they're going to get rid of Shieldred. Okay. I have 2 Shieldreds. That means I'm going to draw a card. Hopefully I don't draw into like another land here. Because that would cripple us really hard. It's annoying. Swing with these 2. We're gonna go Takenuma. They find the white source of that. We're gonna go for Takenuma, which is gonna allow us to mill. And I'm gonna get the Preacher of the Schism. Play this. I'm gonna drop the bat. I'm gonna play Preacher. Just hope they didn't top deck like a swamp out of nowhere. Good. Okay, that GIX is amazing. We're gonna destroy the Blossoming Tortoise. And then we're gonna attack with these 2. Draw 2 cards. Hopefully to find a duress. Or this. And take away the Kami War. Alright. They cannot play that. Full swing. Drawing the counter spell immediately. They have to go for whatever they want to go for now. I pumped up my units because if they want to get rid of these and they want their card backs, then they're not getting any stats out of me. Exactly. Connect. Drop them down to 6. Draw 3 times. This is the power of GIX, ladies and gentlemen. This is the power of GIX. GIX Sama. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double counter spell. This game's done. This game's over. Ain't nobody got time for that. Why is the auto tap so bad? Whatever. Your go. Somebody's pissed. Somebody's angry. Okay, so we won the counter spells. We pretty much won everything that we had here. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Let's go with it again. We know what their deck is about. Their deck is very greedy, and we want to punish that. We want to punish that. But this hand is really important here. We have a negate. We have a couple of counter spells and a bat. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this. We have the Field of Ruin, which is really good here as well. A hand that's not gonna, you know, we're gonna be able to curve out, and we got some decent substance. Underground River first. Okay. Bat. Create a 1/1, sacrifice briefcase, add 1 mana of any color. If Leyline of Pact is in your opening hand, alright, let's mute this salty fuck. If Leyline of the Guild Pact is in your opening hand, you may begin. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors. Lands you control are every basic land type. Okay, that's kind of like, it's kind of freakish. We get rid of this though. I mean, they could. Okay, so they have green, they have white. They can definitely cast that if they do that and that. But is that a big deal? I'm gonna get rid of this. No blocks. Okay. Connect. Call that a turn. We go for the Field of Ruin, and then we develop the Deep Cavern Bat. We have to do it in that sequence. But basically, we're trying to limit the colors that they have. They have like all colors available now. They can get rid of Shieldred again. They've always managed to play this before I play Shieldred, which is pretty funny. We do draw a card here. What did they name? 3 steps ahead, okay. Wanna take away the counter spells, huh? Oh, you're top decking, boy. And if you wanna resort to that, nah. Oh baby. Oh baby, we got a combo here. Shieldred the Apocalypse! We swing! And now we're gonna go for the Undercity Sewers here. Get rid of the marsh there. Make sure we don't overdraw lands. We have Insatiable Avarice, ladies and gentlemen. This can be used on our sense to like draw 3 cards if we need to, but it can also be used to kill our opponents. Can also be used to kill our opponents. They played Thalia. First strike, Death Touch. We cannot swing with that. We can swing with these 2. We're like a couple of turns away from lethaling them. But we can also just use Insatiable Avarice on ourselves, to be honest. And I think that's what we gotta do. Booyah. Okay. We can't play GIX that turn, which sucks. But we can develop Duelist of the Mind. They have a good top deck there. They connect there, but I can connect right back. Right back at them. Draw. 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 Get rid of that. They exiled the Duelist of the Mind, which is interesting. Oh, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could go for the GIX's ability, but I don't feel the need to when I can just play Shieldred. I can draw, heal, draw again, heal. Play the Deep Cavern Bat. Attack their hand. Return target land. You may play an additional land. I guess I'll take you. Shoulder dealing 2 damage to them. These Kami Wars netting them tremendous value. But we are about 1 life point away. It's going to be coming to a Flying Dragon. But the key thing is, if they bounce Shieldred and they don't have an answer for it, I can just slam her next turn and put them on the clock. Unless they tap for this Restless Fortress. We have a lot going on here. It's hard for them to get out of, but it's also a point where their value is really coming together, and if they manage to stabilize somehow and prevent from being vulnerable to Shieldred, then this game could start slipping from me. Despite me having significant card advantage, these Sakas are just so much value. But I think they're just against the ropes too much. I think there's just I'm threatening lethal from just sheer board presence, but also Shieldred existing. GIX is also something that they just cannot ignore, especially when I have so much mana. I can start discarding my lands away and using GIX's ability to actually cast my opponent's cards as well. I'm gonna be that guy. You know, they said your go at me. I'm gonna be that guy. Oh, they just roped. Gordon's not very happy. Gordon is not very happy today. No, sir. All right, that sums it up. We only ended up showcasing 2 best-of-3 series today. This one dragged out quite a bit. It should have been 3, man, but I forgot to hit record on the first one. But you gotta believe me, we won. I swear to God, we won it. Even after choking the first game. So this deck's still just performing extremely well in best-of-3. Really showcasing why it got me to Mythic rank. The GIX shell with the flyers is just extremely reliable. And I think the sideboard is really solid as well. Like, I'm really happy with it. We cover pretty much. Nice. I love free stuff. We did not get to showcase Talion though. So the thumbnail, like I cannot bring myself to to putting a card on a thumbnail when I don't even get to play it once. So the thumbnail is just gonna have to be GIX because he definitely put in the work. You know, I really wished I could have showcased Talion the Kindly Lord, but we faced like really greedy decks today. Like that's basically what happened. What's funny is that like the 2 decks that we faced against were greedy, but the deck before that one was also like super greedy. Sometimes, you know, you just run into similar matchups, and it is what it is. Talion definitely shines more in like mid-range matchups, you know, where you could definitely have an idea of what their costs are. Like, because they're mid-range decks, they have more copies of like cards of the same cost, and then Talion can just be really, really annoying for the opponent there. But, you know, it wasn't meant to be. I did get to showcase the brilliance, like just how good Fairy Dream Thief is, and Duelist of the Mind, you know, curving into GIX. Very, very solid. Field of Ruin as well, definitely excelled in these sort of like greedy matchups where they require many different sources of mana. So this land was really useful too. And overall, really happy with the distributions. The sideboard, put in the work as well, like the negates and the duresses. You know, the Preacher of the Schism, fantastic 3-drop that we don't resort to initially, but ends up coming in most matchups in anyways. But I do like that Graveyard Hate being at the disposal at game 1, because that can really give us the edge against a lot of decks that, you know, try to cheese out by comboing with the Graveyard and stuff. And obviously, like, we get to trigger Crimes, which gets to trigger the Duelist of the Mind as well, right? So, great stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed. Best of 3 content is going to be limited on the channel, but it will happen every now and then. This is already the second best of 3 video on the channel. Tomorrow you can definitely expect best of 1. The day after that, and the day after that, you can definitely expect best of 1. It's mostly going to be best of 1 because I get to showcase way more variety of matchups. But this is the deck that I try-harded with on my way to Mythic, and I was really excited to share with you guys. And hopefully you enjoyed and try it out yourselves if you can. And let me know what you think. Have a solid day. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering Arena content. Hope you enjoyed the games. I'll see you guys tomorrow.